Now we got to move on over to our resident queer, Don Lemon. This man, this man is just, oh my God, Don Lemon got to be the worst. Don Lemon is now under investigation by the DOJ, the Department of Justice, for leading the invasion of a Christian church. Listen to this. He led the invasion of a Christian church in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He literally flew into Minneapolis. He led a mob of violent protests. I call them rioters and terrorists. He led a mob of violent, radicalized rioters into a Minneapolis church during service, disrupted the service. He disrupted the service, him in the name of getting ratings and views. These people say they did it in the name of defending the honor of Renee Nicole Good, but I'm not buying it. Let's check this out.
Into Minneapolis a little bit ago and did some reconnaissance on the ground, speaking to an organization there that's gearing up for resistance and protest. I've been pleasantly surprised to see the community coming together. Diverse community. If you see this, when we first pulled up, we're like, wait a minute, which operation are we at? And as it turns out, because we're like, well, this is kind of MAGA coded, right? So the American flag or whatever, but these are resistance protesters. They're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on. I can't tell you exactly what they're doing, but it's called Operation Pull Up. And it's Sakima Armstrong, and she has been doing this since George Floyd, Dante Wright, and others, where they surprise people, catch them off guard, and hold them to account.
Now listen, some black lady is organizing this. She's a holdover from the George Floyd stuff, and now these professional activists have found another situation that they can grift off of. Project Pull Up. That's lame as hell, and it sounds just like Pull Up Summer, the thing that Tariq Nasheed and the FBA cult were doing. So they catch people off guard and hold them accountable. You mean you basically catch people off guard and begin to harass them?
And so that's what we're doing here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see it live. And these operations are surprise operations. Again, can't tell you where they're going.
In Minneapolis, Minnesota, a group of activists led by Don Lemon stormed a Baptist church by the name of Cities Church during their worship time. They were screaming and chanting, disrupting the singing and the preaching, because they suspected an ICE officer may attend the church. This is a violation of what is known as the FACE Act. And not only do we condemn this act, but tonight I want to demand that the Department of Justice investigate what took place in Minneapolis, apprehend those who broke the law, and arrest them accordingly.
Be arrested, including Don Lemon.
Today, we had the honor to protest with Sakima Armstrong and the Racial Justice Network. Just like Jesus did, we went into that church and we flipped tables peacefully.
You said that you asked the Lord to stay in your house, to pray for you on get your house in order. That is correct. Well,
Renee Good! Renee Good! Renee Good! Renee Good! Don't shoot! 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 Don't shoot!
Shame on you.
Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are your people? Why are you not at Whipple every day fighting for the humanity, standing for our people? Where are you? You drink your coffee, you got your jewelry, you have your nice clothes, but what do you do? What do you do to stand for your Somali and Latino communities? I'm not going to comment. You have no comment. Exactly.
Same crowd.
Guys, understand, this is an act of political intimidation. These people go in here and basically tell these people, we're going to enter private property. We're going to disrupt your church service because you're not doing what we think you should do politically. They call ICE the Gestapo. They call ICE the SS. They compare ICE to Hitler. They're the ones doing the Nazi-like they're using the Nazi-like tactics. Bro, who goes into a church to shame people because those people want to go to church and not be standing outside in the snow protesting against law enforcement to defend some criminal? The Bible says that if you are a Christian, you are supposed to be in submission to the authorities. You are supposed to be in submission to the people who God has put in authority over you. And that's what those people are doing. This is, in my according to the definition, this is an act of domestic terrorism. Because who's to say next time when they get mad enough, they don't come in there with guns or bats and billy clubs and beat these people because these people aren't doing what they think they should be doing.
That formed an angry mob yesterday to attack American citizens in Minneapolis. Today, they formed an angry mob to attack a Baptist church in St. Paul, Minnesota, and they took Don Lemon with them. No, really, the same people who were, quote unquote, protecting Somalis yesterday, here they are attacking a Baptist church.
Shame on you. Shame on you. This is the house of God, and we're
Now, this act of domestic tea is reportedly because the pastor has some affiliation with ICE. Listen to how Don Lemon tries to justify their actions, the actions of attacking a church during worship service.
For some reason, in our modern era, people think that in order to have protests, you got to be, cordoned off to a certain area and, what time you can protest. There's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what time you can protest. You can protest at any time. That's the whole point of it, is to disrupt, it's to make uncomfortable. And that's what they're doing.
But that church is private property. The church belongs to the congregation. And nowadays, those churches have like ownership of the land, the building, and all that. And that is private property that is under the ownership of whatever LLC or 501c4 or 501c3 that they are affiliated with. That's trespassing. That's criminal trespassing. That ain't no damn protesting. If you want to protest, stand outside on the sidewalk. They went into the church service.
Only the free exercise of religion, which is being trampled on by these protesters here. So yesterday, a man was nearly ripped limb from limb for going to protest Somali fraud. Today, they attack a church while Don Lemon sits in the corner pontificating on how this is just a natural extension of the civil rights movement, because that's what he says in the rest of the clips. This isn't anything resembling the civil rights movement. This is domestic terrorism against American citizens now in our houses of worship. This is the extended tantrum.
Propaganda news alert from this supposed right-angle news network, that I led a protest into a church this morning in Minneapolis. That is complete BS. First of all, I had no idea who the organization was.
Now, this is the part that you call plausible deniability. This is where the men like Don Lemon, now they're going to say, oh, I had nothing to do with it. I didn't know what was going on. Okay, Don Lemon, if you didn't know anything about what they were doing, why did you follow them into the church? This guy, Don Lemon, is not ignorant. He knows the law. He knows the law. And you have freedom of religion, meaning I can't go into a Muslim mosque and start beating people up because I don't like their response to something that happened on the news. You are committing an act of terrorism. You are infringing upon those people's right to worship. They showed up for church service, and they couldn't worship the way they wanted to because you showed up with a mob to intimidate them. Don Lemon deserves to be in jail.
Was until I arrived this morning. And number two, that's what every journalist should be doing, exactly what I did. What I did was report, chronicle, and commit an act of journalism, which is what every journalist should be doing. That's what happened. So if you really want to know the truth about what happened, why don't you check it out at the Don Lemon Show on YouTube, on Substack, and on Twitch. And follow us on any of our socials if you really want to know the truth, rather than getting some right-wing propaganda from a so-called news network.
Well, he interviews the pastor as well.
What do you think of this? I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. So,
But there were folks who will...
I have to take care of my flock.
Okay, but listen, we live in there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
We're here to worship Jesus. Yes. That's why we're here.
Please don't push him. That pastor should have grabbed this bastard by the neck and threw his ass out. What do you mean I'm going to be very respectful, but please don't push me? The disrespect has already happened. What do you mean, Don? The disrespect has already taken place. And this guy's talking about, I'm going to be very respectful. I'm trying to make this bigger so y'all can see it. The disrespect has already taken place. You don't walk up in nobody's damn place of worship like that and start disrupting and then put a camera in their face. He's the pastor. He's supposed to be on stage preaching.
Yeah. Okay, that's why we're here. That's what we're about.
Do you think Jesus would be understanding and
we're about
love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a
no
Christian?
one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to
unless you're here to worship. Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here.
Oh,
We're here to
my
worship.
God.
We're here to worship. Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So Don Lemon,
He's a Christian laid up with his boyfriend. He's a Christian laid up with his boyfriend sucking on each other. Okay, dude. But Don Lemon interviewed an old man. And I love this interview because this interview for me just showed that who do you think you're dealing with, bro? When you start going into a church, you're dealing with the real world now. These people are not going to be scared of you. They're not going to be intimidated by you, and they're not going to let you bully them. And Don Lemon forgot that he wasn't at some LGBTQ rally, and he's at a church. This old man was not backing down.
These people have come into our house and they've interrupted our worship. This is a house of peace, and we try to proclaim that. And this stirs division and rancor. And in the end, it's not helpful. Ultimately, I believe they've lost. They've emptied a house of worship. Everybody's gone home. Their point has been proven worthless. And so, in the end, I think they lose. But more importantly, if I was to break into any of their houses uninvited, cause derision and upset according to their values, I would be kicked out ultimately. It's not a good way. I feel violated. I feel interrupted. I feel angry.
May I ask you something? When you were saying if you had showed up at their house, they're saying that people are showing up at houses where they're citizens or without due process and breaking and entering the house. One that we saw, I've been watching from New York, with a battering ram into someone's private property.
Yeah, so this is what he's saying. He's showing it. Well, they're saying that people have been showing up to people's private houses and ICE has been doing that. Okay, but you're doing the exact same thing that you claim ICE is doing. The difference is you're doing it to law-abiding, innocent American citizens. That's the difference. ICE is showing up to the homes of criminals who know that they're criminals. They knew the risk that was involved with coming into the country illegally. And now that very real risk is coming to fruition, right? What did these people at this church do? Who did they hurt? Whose law did they break? These are demons, man. They're not there because they think somebody from ICE go there. They there because this is their way to try to thumb their nose at God. That's what they're there to do. I wouldn't support this if this was a bunch of MAGA people going up in a Muslim mosque disrupting the service. But as much as Christians and Muslims don't agree in America, you never seen nothing like this ever happen, which shows you that we've entered into an era where there is a new domestic terrorist threat in this country. These people have no respect for anything. Only their rights matter. Only they have a right to freedom of speech and worship and all that. Everyone else, your rights are basically arbitrary. Your rights only matter when they feel like your rights matter.
And there's no recourse. There's no, you understand what I'm saying?
This is all part of a much larger dialogue, in my opinion. On one side are people who watch a previous administration.
Hey, didn't I tell y'all the black women been possessed by a demon? Remember when I did that show and y'all was like, you're being too harsh. Who led this blasphemous riot, this blasphemous assault? It was the black woman, the #1 killer of black children in America. Of course, black women don't have no respect for no church or God. They don't even respect their own body or their unborn fetuses. That is the demonic juggernaut of the far left radical movement, the black woman. Nothing is sacred. The most hyper emotionally driven being in the galaxy. The far left radicalized black female. Grew up with her granny in church, sitting up in church, has been taught to have a deep respect for the house of God and throwing it all out the window because she's going through menopause and doesn't like the way she feels when she wakes up every day.
Bring 12 million people in over the course of 4 years, and many of them undocumented, many of them criminals, etc. This is another administration's corrective. Now, whether you agree with the policies or procedures, I think I could actually be sympathetic to some of the things where there have been challenges to fashion and decency. At the same time, these are what are called targeted interventions by ICE to keep the American people safe.
If I respectfully may interject here, I've been out reporting on a lot of these, and they're not targeted. There are no warrants signed by a judge, let me finish. And they're American citizens. Many
federal warrants are not signed by judges. Those judges are signed by the agents of ICE. They're not. That's been the way it's been forever. So they're not signed by a judge. ICE warrants don't have to be signed by a judge. They're signed by an ICE agent. They've been empowered to do that ever since 2003. Because when you're fighting terrorists and terrorist cells, you need to be able to act quickly. You don't have time to wait an hour, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, a week, 2 weeks for a federal judge to get around to signing it. That's bullcrap. Listen, man, at the end of the day, what these dudes did was just absolutely wrong, man. It was absolutely wrong what they did. And Don Lemon, the funny part is Don Lemon knows better. Don Lemon knows better. But these people are basically trying to create an environment where rules for thee, not for me. That is always the goal of radical leftists. Rules for thee, not for me. We shouldn't have to follow the rules because we believe we have right on our side. We believe we have morality on our side, and it's just wrong. It's literally called the Klan Act. Life of Energia. Hold on. the Klan Act of the Anti-Klan Act of 1870. These are laws that were passed during the era of Reconstruction, when black people had black congressmen sitting in Congress, where this is back when black people were Republicans primarily. So this is like an integral part of our history as black folks. And that's why I tell you, when you go against these type of laws, you're really undermining all the things that African Americans did that are a part of the fabric of this country. See, I feel like this far left radicalism is just totally anti-black. It's totally anti-black. Let's read this super chat. Comma Classical. Brandon and I have been volunteering these days. It makes me feel good. And I've met many great people. Us conservatives should volunteer more. Yeah, I volunteered on Skid Row for like 2 years. So I'm always going to commend anyone who does that. Go do it. Volunteering really teaches you a lot about the world, man. Most of these people wouldn't volunteer for 3 minutes at a soup kitchen, but they'll get out on these protests and scream. And what really is embarrassing is this situation was led by a black woman. And I know this woman is totally ignorant of the law. She just doing it. She going to jail though. Yep, MLK was a trip, from what I heard anyway. Facts. Yeah, she's going to jail. She's going to prison. You don't do that. You don't roll up in no church like that. Places of worship are federally protected. And want me to tell you what's crazy? You remember the church got bombed in Birmingham, Alabama? That's one of the many reasons why churches are protected institutions under the federal law. So the same group who suffered church bombings at the hands of the KKK are now running up in churches, harassing people, intimidating people on behalf of a white lady. It's like we're living in a bizarre world. But guys, listen, we got to get out of here. Thank you so much for watching this. I appreciate everything you do. I know